Center video presentation. The first painting or art piece that I chose to talk about was Civil War by Bo Bartlett, painting in 1994. When we entered the Bo Bartlett section of the gallery at the end, this was the painting that everybody was facing entering the room, so it is the most noticeable. This depicts the Battle of Nashville in the Civil War. A reason this battle was significant is that it was the only snowy battle of the war. They chose usually not to fight in winter conditions. Because of those conditions, this battle in particular happened to be very harsh, and there were a lot of casualties. The central figure used to be white whenever he was first painting it, and he changed it to a black man to add more of a emotional connection between the Southern Belle holding him. The another thing that I thought whenever I was looking at the painting is that the lady appears to be very angelic, as if she's taking him to heaven or some type of spiritual message like that. If I were to, the music in my head whenever I look at this is like kind of similar to like Godspeed You New Emperor's new album, where but instead like just like a ambience of wasteland and the aftermath of war, and it being very shallow, very hollow, very empty, and very droning is how I picture this, or really any war setting. The next piece that I chose to talk about is Camper Down 2 by Susan Zoccola. This was in the Women of the Pacific Northwest exhibit. She's from Seattle, Washington. She is very inspired by neuroscience and biology, and that makes sense to me because whenever I first saw this, if you can't remember, it's a bunch of sticks intertwined. But when I first saw it, I immediately thought of like veins or like genes or something along like human anatomy like that. So it's cool that I made that connection. Uh, Another thing that what I think is really interesting about this is that it's depicting like neuroscience or some type of anatomy thing. I'm not a scientist, but it's using sticks, so it's using plants as well, which is also something that she takes inspiration from. So it's kind of connecting human life to plant life, which I thought was really cool. The last piece that I chose to talk about is Get Free or Fly Tryin' by Fahamu Pico. He's an Atlanta artist, and the reason I really like this piece is just it's how straightforward and blatant it is, in a time where that is really needed right now. I always seem to enjoy things that tell it straight, that you don't have to think about too much. Whenever you look at it, you get the message immediately. I feel like that's a really good way to get really strong messages across, like this one. Obviously, making fun of the Make America Again slogan. Um, Another thing I thought was interesting is the clipped wings, perhaps meaning denied freedom or something along those lines. Um, Obviously, in this era we're in, I think there's a reason that they chose to have these where they did in the exhibit. If you're basically if you're at the start of the exhibit and you go any further, you're gonna have to go buy these and see them, which I think is very powerful, very good, um, especially considering who the president is right now. This is what I like to see in art. I like to see people having a message and not being afraid to shout it in your face. This is in this regard, it reminds me a lot of both punk music and hip hop music. Both genres very known to to be against all forms of bigotry, and to do it in a way that's very blatant. And that's why I really like both punk and hip hop. And yeah, that's it for my presentation. I really enjoyed going through the Bo Bartlett Center and looking at all these pieces. And I definitely suggest you continue doing this with your next classes.